This video is brought to you by our friends at Gorilla Car Care, a premium detailing product at an affordable price and your classic car or truck's best friend for maintaining a showroom shine. Go to GorillaCarCare.com today.
Hey guys, I just bought what I think is the most comfortable car of all time. None other than the second generation Lincoln Town Car Cartier Presidential Edition. The idea of the town car originated all the way back in the 1920s with chauffeured vehicles. If you think about the 1920s where they had those vehicles where you had the front compartment with no roof and the rear compartment for the passengers with a fixed roof, kind of like a limousine for the 1920s if you think about it. As far as a Lincoln town car is considered though, that came out in 1959 and it was just a limousine-esque trim package for the Continental. But it became its own model in 1980 when the town car first came out, and it really was kind of a limousine type of experience. And that carries over to this, the second generation Lincoln Town Car, which came out in 1990. So as far as styling goes, I really like this boxy styling, and I especially like this hood ornament, which you really just don't see on cars nowadays. It kind of helps you tell where that front end is, and it sits right on top of a beautiful chromed out grille. So in 1996, when the Cadillac Fleetwood was discontinued, that made this the actual longest length regular production sedan in the US. And you can see it is quite a boat and quite a barge here, but there's a few interesting things on the side that I like. So that presidential package was actually a dealer installed option. And it came with these chrome, I don't know, what do you call them, like fender flares on the side. And then it came with this Landau top, which, you know, take it or leave it. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally am kind of indifferent, but the interesting part to me is the Landau top is continued onto the doors. So it's not just on the roof itself, it is part of the roof and the doors. And then you get a nice little like Lincoln badge here on the back that's the same color as that front emblem. And I think this would have said either Cartier or Presidential on it, but somebody has kind of helped themselves to it. Now, opening the trunk is really interesting because you have this emblem here, which I'm not sure if that's the Cartier emblem or if that is part of the presidential package. But if you want to get into it, you just kind of swivel it out of the way and then you insert the key to open it, which this one is, oh no, it's seen better days. Maybe I'll open it from the button on the inside. That one may not be functioning properly. So let me get that button. And I'll show you how the trunk just kind of flies open on its own, even though it's not a powered operated trunk. But yeah, you push that button and it flies open on its own, and then you can see it is absolutely huge inside of here. I mean, if you have more than 6 friends, because you can seat 6 on the inside, you can fit the extras in here if you really wanted to, because that comfort extends all the way to the trunk. And not only that, but when you go to close it, you just kind of lightly rest it down and then it closes itself the rest of the way for you with that soft closing trunk. So to add to the comfortable ride, this has rear air suspension, which was standard across all of the town cars in the second generation. But if you wanted to lift it up, you have to actually turn it off, which it has a little off symbol right here to help you turn that air suspension off so it doesn't do any damage if you do end up having to jack it up. Popping the hood, the nice thing you can kind of see there is a lot of times with a car, I fumble around and I have a hard time figuring out exactly how to pop the hood open. But Lincoln made it very simple for you because they knew their demographic was maybe a little bit older, a little bit hard of seeing, but under the hood is the legendary 4.6 liter V8 engine from Ford, and this was actually the vehicle that it was introduced in 1991. The 1990 models actually got the 5 liter V8 that a lot of people do love, but this was a bit more powerful, putting out 210 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. Not only that, this 4.6 went on till 2014 because it was such a good motor. They put it in their trucks, they put it in the Crown Vic, cop cars, taxis, you name it, it was in there. And these are probably one of the most reliable Ford engines ever made. Getting out and driving this, you know, I've been driving this now for a couple of days, and man, there's just no softer or quieter of an experience, or at least that I've experienced. Maybe if you get, you know, a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, you can get, you know, some nice, soft, comfortable ride, but I'm driving over kind of rougher dirt road here, and you don't feel it at all. It just kind of like floats like a boat right down this dirt road. And even going around the turn, you just kind of like waft around the turn. And I'm just kind of, I get the experience now where people say that it is like being in a boat, because you feel like you're just kind of on calm lake waters and you're just floating around on the road, hovering almost like slightly above the road, because that is just how nice this feels to drive. And not only that, but these seats, man, they're like a lazy boy. I love how nice they feel. So let's talk competition. When this came out, it did have some competition, right? It was competing with like the Cadillac Fleetwood. But when that was discontinued in '96, they really kind of had it all to themselves. They were really the only big rear-wheel drive American sedan left. They were the last man standing, and this went on even for a third generation, all the way till I think 2011 was the third generation when it finally ended. And it was really a relic of the past, of a big American luxury sedan. And I can kind of get the appeal of why these are so loved. And I really wish that they would come back to this, because I think both Lincoln and Cadillac had a really good thing when they were building something far different from what the Europeans and the Japanese were building as far as their luxury sedans go, because those give you a much more, tight, performance-focused experience, whereas this, there's really no performance intentions, right? They're giving you just enough power that's adequate to feel comfortable driving at highway speeds and to get around. It doesn't want to be fast. Like, it just wants to get you there in supreme comfort. And there really is nothing for sale today that kind of emulates that experience. And I wish there was, because it's so different and it's nice to have, honestly. So the interior is really where owning a town car makes it so nice, because these seats are probably the most comfortable that have been ever made. I know some of you in the comments may argue with me, saying that your Cadillac is more comfortable, or some other European luxury car is more comfortable. But in my opinion, for my butt, this is the place to be. So starting with the door, this is actually a really nice place. So you got a JBL sound system, and that was standard as part of the Cartier package. And then you do have some plasticky buttons here with the lock and unlock, and then your mirror controls up top. But when you move down to the door handle, it starts to get this kind of chromed finish. I think they're actually just plastic with chrome on them. But they do, these window switch buttons, which are all that same kind of finish, do actually feel genuinely like metal. But not only that, you do get memory seats and a heated seat, which you can decide whether you want it just on your back or if you want it on both your back and your bottom. And then down below, you do have the fuel button, or the fuel door button there, and the trunk release button. So as far as the center dash goes, starting off here on the left, you have this thing that's called auto lamp. And basically this just determines how long the lamps are left on once you lock the vehicle. And if you push it, you can turn on your interior lights. Then moving down, the thing that I think is most interesting is you have this where it says steering low to high. And this adjusts the amount of assist that you are getting from the power steering. So if you have it on its highest setting, this is its most assisted setting. And then if you have it on its lowest, you kind of have, the least assisted. So it's the most sporty that it can possibly feel. But I can tell you, I keep it up on high, and you can literally just do like one finger driving with this, because the steering is so light. And then onto the instrument cluster, I really like this like indigo blue that it shows in the digital instrument display. And you're seeing that this one has a little over 134,000 miles. This guy is just an aftermarket CD changer control, but you do have a onboard computer here, and it shows you a few interesting things. So you see where it says fuel remaining. That is showing you that you have, or I currently have, 6 gallons of gas left. And if I switch over to distance, it'll tell me about how many miles it thinks that those 6 gallons will get me. And then I can see my average fuel economy, which right now is about 18 miles to the gallon. and then my average speed, and then you have your simple trip A, trip B, and then how much is left on your trip computer. But yeah, I mean, not many cars show you how many gallons you have left in the computer, so I think that's a really interesting thing. But moving on to the steering wheel, you do have your typical cruise control buttons, and then over on the right, you do have your radio control buttons, and below that, you have your HVAC controls. So you can control your temperature and your fan speed right from the steering wheel. And I know this was popular on a lot of the luxurious Fords back in the 90s, but there are not many cars nowadays that have these on the steering wheel anymore, and I really do miss them. So as you can see, as part of the Cartier package, you got these nice little door handles that say Cartier on them. And even this door card, it has like this nice leather feeling to it, but if your hand continues along to the dash, you realize that it quickly turns into kind of a soft plastic that is a little bit tufted to look like leather, but it isn't actually leather. And then you do have a digital clock up top, and then your standard radio, which the blue continues from that digital instrument cluster. And then you do have, and I know this may seem like fake wood to some of you, but as part of the Cartier package, this was real wood. Then you do have your climate control here where you can control the fan speed and change the temperatures. And it does also tell you the outside temperature. And then here is where your cup holders would be. They're not great cup holders. I mean, the 90s weren't known for having a lot of good cup holders, but you do have some options to put things there. And then onto the center armrest, you do get these split folding center armrests. And the driver's one just has kind of a coin holder and a little bit of storage, but if you got the cell phone option, which this did have in 1996, it would live right here, where you could actually have a cellular device in here, which I'm kind of bummed that mine doesn't have. But mine does have your typical little swiveling lights, which you don't have to push a button. You just push it and it automatically turns on, then you can aim it to where you want it. And then you have not only one, but two sun visors. So just in case you had sun somehow coming in at you from both angles, you could fully protect yourself from all of the rays coming in. And you can kind of see that this is why mine's a cheap car. The headliner has seen better days. So in the back seat of the town car, you can see it's pretty spacious. So this being the limo, right? The Lincoln limo, you have quite a lot of legroom, a pretty good amount of headroom, and these seats, they're pretty squishy and pretty darn comfortable. So on the door, you get that same wood trim, which hides your ashtray, which mine is, the door is kind of failing here, but you do get a nice power switch and a chromed little door handle, and it tells you that you're in the Lincoln town car Cartier in the back, which gives you that same kind of leather finish. And then you get this really nice vanity mirror with lights that go a little bit higher and a little bit lower. And this was part of the Cartier package. So if you got just kind of like the signature executive, they did not get that. But then out back, you do have some lighting, just like you would up front, that turn on as soon as you swivel them. And then you do get a nice big, well, a medium-sized cushy armrest. So what I'm noticing as I'm getting out here is, you know, you have your Cartier handle, just like I said, but you have an additional handle right here, and then you have your typical grab handle up top. So you have a lot of places to really hold on in case your driver gets a little bit crazy. So even though this is not a performance-oriented car, I do want to kind of see, though, you know, we're up here at elevation, but what 0 to 60 does it have after being, you know, over, 25 years on the road? Can it still perform decent enough? Let's see what it does. All right, I'm just going to mash the throttle and go. Let's see what kind of 0 to 60 I can get. Yeah, and it throws you back a little bit, but it's not super eventful. But there's 30, 40. Oh, come on, 50. Yeah, it's not super fast. And 60. So up here at a little over a mile above sea level, it did it in just shy of 13 seconds, 12.57 to be specific. So yeah, it is not a fast car. So when this debuted in 1990, it was received with much, much love. So much so, in fact, that it won Motor Trend's Car of the Year in 1990. And over its lifespan, they sold over 900,000 of those. And that is even though they were $42,000 back in the day. And I mean, $42,000 for this version with the Cartier package. And that may not seem like a lot to you, but if you convert that to 2023 dollars, that's over $80,000 for an American luxury sedan. So it was a pretty expensive vehicle back then, but I bought it for $2,000. Talk about depreciation, right? And I think that there's going to be a hard way to get something more comfortable and nicer to drive down the road for $2,000. And because of that, I think I'm going to be holding on to this guy for a while. I have always wanted one of these Lincoln Town Cars, and now that I have it and I have the Cartier edition, it's going to be hard for me to let this thing go. But I want to know what you guys think in those comment sections below. So if you like this, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe if you want to see more content on my Lincoln Town Car. And for everything else, check out all TFL. This has been Brendan and Ian behind the camera. Take care, guys.